You are listening to the 90 Days Later podcast with Anna Charles, episode 172.
Welcome to the 90 Days Later podcast, where I show you how life with less alcohol is more fun than you think. I work with high achievers who struggle to drink a glass of wine without it turning into 2 bottles. I'm the one they call when they want to take it or leave it. So if you want to change your relationship with alcohol that doesn't involve counting days sober, you're in the right place.
Hi everybody and welcome back to the podcast. Well, I have to say that right now it is an incredibly exciting time and very, very busy with lots of frenetic activity here in 90 Days Later land, because this time next week my book, The Off Switch, is out in the public eye. Now, I have been talking about this on social media and to my email list, but I will be doing a special early bird on this. So on the day of publication, next Tuesday, March the 25th, I'm giving a special launch price. And anybody who buys at that price also automatically gets access to a ticket to a Q&A, a live Q&A event with me where I will do a little bit of teaching. This is not stuff in the book. This will be bonus content, and you also get to ask me any of your questions about drinking less. This will only be open to those people who purchase the book on that first day. So mark your calendars. Now listen, this book is going to cost you the equivalent of a regular glass of wine. Now I know there are going to be different sizes around the world and all the rest of it, and there are slightly different variations. But I did a little research. I contacted a few pubs. I found out how much it costs for a 175 milliliter glass of white wine, right? The kind of thing I would have drunk. And that is how I have priced the book. But if you want to pay the equivalent of what you pay for a bag of peanuts in a pub, or a small packet of crisps, or I guess I should say chips from my American friends, that is going to be the price on day one. It's just a bit of fun to price it in this way, but I'm making a point that you buy this book is going to give you the tools and the process and the knowledge to save yourself from buying dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of glasses of wine. Anyhow, so that hits the shelves next Tuesday the 25th, and it has some humorous images in it. Yes, I'm not taking the dry and boring route here. I might have liked the dry white wine, but I don't like the dry writing. All right, so that's coming out next week, but for now, let us get on with the show. So today we are going to be tackling something I think that's rather game-changing, and it is alcohol-free days, or AF days for short, or you might refer to them as dry days. If you are somebody who's used to a drink every night, whether it's to wind down, to celebrate, just to get through the day, right, or just for something to do before bedtime, then this episode is for you. I'm going to unpack what an AF day is, what it's like, how to get more of them, and all the rest of it. Now, first off, I'm going to say that the way I like to position an alcohol-free day is it is not just about not drinking, right? Now, that is clearly becomes the primary focus. We talk about going dry. In my work with my clients, when we're planning, we talk about planning to be alcohol-free. But that is really ultimately not the main focus. The main focus is on reclaiming control. Maybe sharpening your edge. It's designing a life where alcohol is optional. And for you to be able to do that, we need to start removing it. Now remember, as I say, we don't have to remove it completely, but we need to start being able to remove it occasionally so that we can move to and build to a place where alcohol is a total optional choice in your life. But as we all know, we make the plans and then life throws the curveballs at us, and that's normally a first sign or an excuse or a reason maybe to crumple and say, I'm not going to be able to do it alcohol free. But I'm going to step you through why this is important and just really what's on the line for you when doing this. Okay, so let's start with the basics. When you hear me or anybody else say alcohol-free day or AF day or dry day, what is your first thought, right? You don't have to overthink this. I don't want you to sit and think, oh, what should I be thinking? I just want your first immediate thought. If you don't have one, I seriously want you to pause and think about it right now. Now, in my work with my clients, usually the first few times we talk about this, it's, right? I just don't want to think about it. My client will often screw up their face. We do video calls, I'll screw up their face, and it's like, this really isn't what I want to talk about. I have clients who kind of build themselves up and get themselves prepared to do their first alcohol-free day. I mean, this can be a big deal. I really want you to think about this. If you are somebody who can't do this, doesn't think they can do this, hasn't done it for years, dreads it, hates the idea of alcohol-free, I just want you to give yourself a little bit of compassion. Just because you don't find it easy doesn't mean you won't be able to do it. But just because you don't find it easy, that is not a reason to beat yourself up. So what? You don't find it easy right now. You don't like the thought of it right now. That's okay. You can change that. It does not mean it is impossible. Now, as I work with people, as I say, a lot of the time they just don't want to know. But then when they've done one or two, they say it's a bit of a relief. Maybe, just maybe, they are able to make a change here. Or maybe you think, oh, that would be nice. That would be so great to be able to do it. Now, I do hear all sorts. While the vast majority of clients, to start with at least, are, let's just say, not at all enticed by the idea of going alcohol-free even for one evening. I have seen everything from, okay, it would be a big relief to know I could do this, to it's a big relief knowing that I can do it even once, right? Even if I can do it the once, that gives me the chink of light to know that maybe I could do it again. Or people also say, if I do that, it feels like a punishment. Like I should be able to do this, I'm just going to punish myself. But wherever you land, that's okay, right? It's just where you are right now. For me, I used to think dry days sounded so boring, right? Just boring. I mean, what am I going to do? How am I going to have fun? I know, it sounds a bit, like I just can't believe that right now, but that's how it used to be. It used to feel so boring. So how does the phrase dry day hit you? Maybe it feels empowering, like a fresh start, or restrictive, like something's been taken away. So whatever that is, that's how it comes to you, right? How it seems to you. But now here's the kicker. How do you want to feel? What if a dry day could be a power move, right? It really could be a chance to reset and own your day, own your week, own your life. If you do struggle with the concept of alcohol-free days or dry days, that is actually a little pro move there, as my children would say. How about if you ditched that terminology, just didn't talk about dry days and talked about something else for a change? A clear day, my freedom day, reset day. I used to talk about peaceful days because I always felt peaceful whenever I didn't drink, even if I didn't like the idea of it, at least to start with. But it really helped a lot, right? It really reminded me what I was going towards. I was going towards creating peace for myself rather than what I was doing, which was, not drinking. So ask yourself, does that shift anything for you? Really, words matter. So if dry feels like deprivation, just try another word that feels like a little win. And doing it in this way also helps you to remind you that, and remind your brain, for you are not your brain, that you are not cutting something out, you are adding something in. You are adding in more peace while you are, for instance, I was adding in more peace while I was taking out the alcohol. Right, so how actually do you do a dry day? I wanted to break that down for you. And if you think, I should be able to do this, again, leave that judgment at the door. Firstly, there's preparation. I want you to pick your day ahead of time. I want you to put it in your calendar, like it's a meeting with yourself. And then I want you to visualize it. I want you to see yourself going through the motions of doing alcohol-free day. And I want you to see you achieving it. Now, in preparation for it, I also want you to stock up on something you enjoy. Sparkling water, a herbal tea, or maybe even a fancy mocktail. This is not to replace and to kind of pretend that you're drinking, but you're not drinking. But so much of the habit is going to be about pouring liquid into a glass. And so if you have something else prepared, you're going to be able to find that piece of the ritual easier. Treat it like an experiment and be ready for the cravings to come when it is time for you to normally drink. And that is when I want you to expect the cravings to come when they normally do, because why wouldn't they, right? You've had a drink at that time every night or every Tuesday or every week or whatever it is for however many years. Of course they're going to come. This is part of the habit, right? I've talked about this before on the podcast, part of the timing. But treat it all as an experiment. Be ready for it and know you can do this. The cravings will be uncomfortable. Yes, they come back, but they don't last long. I just want you to know you've done harder things. You have done much, much, much harder things than sit through a craving for a glass of wine or a glass of beer. Believe me, you have. And if you find yourself getting all kind of antsy about the craving, ask how big a deal is it? Call yourself out. If you think you're making a fuss, right? Calm yourself down, talk yourself back off of the ledge. If you don't manage it the first time, give it another go. Wait a couple of days and give it another go. Learn from what went wrong. But then when you do manage your first alcohol-free day, I really want you to luxuriate in that sense of achievement, not just the positive side effects. Perhaps you're going to have more focus. You're certainly going to sleep better. Right? You'll feel less sense of remorse in the morning and all that stuff. But you're going to feel empowered because you're going to see you've achieved it. And if you can do it once, you can do it again. And you know that is true. Even if maybe the next time around, when you've got to do it again, you might have the same reservations. Now let's talk about the real story behind dry days. And I just want to bust some myths here. They are not about white knuckling it. They're all about intention. And no, you will not be missing out. You will be gaining more energy. And the real story is that you're taking the reins. I mean, not just making the decision to go dry and have an alcohol-free day, but to actually follow through on it. I mean, think how marvelous that is, that you're acting and executing that decision. And then I want you to really just, once you've done one, then two, start to get curious. How many alcohol-free days do you want to have? How many are we talking? I mean, do you like them? Do you get to like them? Do you fear them? Do you seek them out? Maybe, just maybe, you actually secretly love the calm of an alcohol-free night. Or maybe you dread the quiet without a glass in your hand. There is no judgment. I just want you to notice all of this. And then I want you to think a little further into the future. How do dry days fit in with who you are and with who you're becoming? Maybe could being able to do an alcohol-free day or two or three or maybe all week, maybe that could be your next edge, right? The next thing that you do, your next big accomplishment. It could be a way to prove to yourself that you don't need the drink. We already know you don't, but this is a way for you to prove it to yourself. Because then you're choosing here, you're actively choosing to not drink and you're following through. I want you to think about the ripple effect. This is huge. One alcohol-free day might sharpen your morning. A week of them might shift how you show up for work, how you show up around your family. It really isn't just a day, it is a domino. You start to see yourself in a whole new light. If you find all this appealing but scary, I do encourage you to start small. Again, this is an old analogy with running a marathon. If you haven't run more than 200 yards, you're not going to be able to run a marathon in the next week. If you haven't had an alcohol-free day for the last 10 years, you're probably going to struggle to have the next 10 days be alcohol-free. Just give yourself a break and always start with what you are willing to do. I also wanted to talk briefly about what I call dry days in the wild. Right, this is when you're out socially, when you're with friends. You might be thinking, but what is that like? Is it as hard as I think? Now listen, the point here is that most people, most of your friends, if they're good people that you care about and you want to have in your life, they actually either don't notice or don't care what's in your glass. In fact, you might find them very, very supportive. You could try it out, right? Try ordering a soda, water with lime and see what happens. I even have some clients who tell me they find social events easier being alcohol-free. I mean, genuinely easier. They prefer them. They thought it would be hard, but it really isn't. So right now, if you're worried about this, you actually don't know if you're going to be able to do this or not. So I want you to go towards it. And think about what this says about you. It's you calling the shots. You're not just going along with the crowd. You're not just following the old habit. You're not following the old habit brain. You're actually deciding something intentionally and differently. How could you learn something completely new about yourself? I always say that when we change our relationship with alcohol, we learn about so much more that we're capable of. It is not unusual for my clients to go off and change jobs and set great, big, impossible goals for themselves, because now they feel released from the shackles, right, that were of being around the drink that was keeping them stuck. Something they thought they could never change, and now they can do that. They can see their potential to do other things. And I'll end by thinking about who would you become by having more AF days in your week? Right? What comes up when you think of having 1, 2, even 3 or 4 dry days a week? Fear that you'll miss out, or maybe excitement? Let's try getting to normalizing it. We're going to normalize alcohol-free days. This is doable. This isn't beyond the bounds of your capability. Yes, you might find it hard, and you don't necessarily have to love the idea, but we're just going to give it a go. This is all about your identity. This is all about changing who you are. This is the deep work that goes on, that if you do this, this is how you change your relationship with alcohol for life, right? Because you're not willpowering. You're not drinking on certain days. You assign certain days to be alcohol-free days because that's just what you do. All right, let's wrap this up. So alcohol-free days are really about control and peace and calm and becoming the person who doesn't need a drink, of identifying as the person who intentionally chooses to have some alcohol-free days in their life, maybe lots of them, and to be willing to show up for yourself, even if you find it difficult at the beginning. So your challenge, should you wish to accept it, was that Star Trek? I forget where that was from. Anyway, your challenge is to decide on a day when you want to go alcohol-free. I want you to write that down. I want you to tell yourself that's what you're going to do. I want you to visualize yourself doing it. And I want you to see you going towards the cravings and being willing to feel all the feelings. And whether you succeed or not, I want you to be celebratory of yourself, that you were willing to put yourself forward. And if you didn't work, you're just going to go through and do it all again. All right, that's it for this week. Like I say, do look out for the off switch that is hitting Amazon and Barnes & Noble and Apple Books and a number of other excellent retailers next week. And there is a paperback version too, and there is an audio version that I still need to finish. All right, so that's what I'm going to be getting on with now. That's it for this week, and I will see you next time.
If you like what you're learning in the podcast and you want to take the work further and achieve total freedom around alcohol, let's talk. I help my clients stop reaching for that first 6 p.m. rolls around. Email me for more information on anna@90dayslater.co. And if you did enjoy the show, I'd really appreciate if you'd leave a rating and review to help others find the 90 Days Later podcast.